Dymension is one of the new coins that everybody is talking about after the recent airdrop. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down how high I believe Dymension can go in this current bull cycle. So I'll be breaking down the exact reasons why, looking at things such as the market cap, the vesting periods, the competition out there, and much more. Now, if you do enjoy this video, please do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, but let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So as we usually do with these series of videos, we'll do a very quick overview of what the project is all about. So when we look at the Dymension website here, we can see that it is labeled as the home of the roll-apps. Now, if you're not sure what a roll-app is, but have seen this phrase or terminology used before, it's essentially allowing anybody to spin up their own blockchain. So if we scroll down on the website here, we can see a couple of different points when it comes to doing this. We've got autonomy, which is allowing people to create their own blockchain with maximum flexibility and minimum overhead, so not too costly. But then when it comes to the performance and the liquidity, we can see that this is basically served around the Dymension hub. So it isn't too complex for people, and it's actually quite straightforward for people to do this. And a good summary that I see in here on KJ Nodes is this very simple sentence at the top of the website. So Dymension is a network of modular blockchains, possibly another phrase that you've heard elsewhere, called roll-apps, and at the center of it all is the Dymension hub. Dymension allows anybody to build and deploy their own consensus-free blockchain, which is a roll-app. Now, when it comes to these key terms, we can see modular blockchains here within the categories of Dymension on CoinGecko. Modular blockchains recently have burst onto the scene with the likes of Celestia, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. And then another category labeled here is the roll-ups as a service, which again is a new narrative that has come to life quite recently, with another big airdrop, AltLayer, being one of them projects as well. So we'll dive into that in a little bit, but that should give you a quick overview of what Dymension is all about. And very quickly, we'll cover a bit of information around the recent airdrop. Now, for more info, I did cover this in a recent video just a couple of days back in the airdrop roundup, so go and check that out. But just recapping those key statistics, we can see here on airdrops.io that 70 million DYM was airdropped to Ethereum L2s, Cosmos, Celestia, Solana, and various NFT holders, which included the likes of Pudgy Penguins. Now, these tokens collectively are worth around $500 million, so a pretty big airdrop, no doubt about that. However, one thing that people are looking at now, if they missed that airdrop, is actually how you can stake Dymension to potentially receive future airdrops. So that's something that people are doing, and we'll look at the chart and how people have been buying up Dymension recently. But for those who did receive the airdrop, they've got the choice of selling, holding, or staking. And I think a lot of people are looking to stake to get more exposure to projects within the ecosystem. And if that is the case, there is a guide here on airdrops.io, which basically explains how you can buy DYM if you need it and go ahead and stake it through the Dymension portal, which looks a little something like this. Now, I'll leave this link in the description to make sure that you use the correct link. But again, it's just essentially connecting your wallet, having Dymension in the wallet, and then clicking stake. Very, very straightforward. Now we'll have a look at the interesting stuff. This is huge when it comes to making these price predictions, and that's the tokenomics, the vesting periods, and the market cap. So if we start on CoinGecko, we can see that the market cap currently at around $1 billion, with a fully diluted valuation of $7 billion, leaving around 15% of the supply currently in circulation, which is quite normal for a new token, so there's no real concern there. Now, if we move on to CryptoRank, and it discusses some of the vesting that is going on with this token, we can see that, again, something that is quite common is that the core team and the backers have a 1-year cliff on their tokens. So again, if people are a little bit concerned by this, they can potentially sell within the next 12 months and avoid that situation. But that is quite normal, I believe, in my opinion. Now, one thing we can see here, which is interesting, is that 33% plus another 5% haven't got any real vesting terms that we can see publicly, and that is quite a large amount of the tokens, but they are sat within on-chain DAOs. Now this will be stuff where the community, the DAO, can actually make decisions. The thing is here is these decisions can be quite spontaneous. You can't really plan ahead for them. However, they usually do have a notice period. So for example, if at the on-chain DAO decide to unlock X amount of tokens, there will be 6 months notice for them tokens to come into circulation. So you have public information there and you can decide within the next 6 months if you're okay with that or if you want to jump ship. So hopefully that makes sense, because if we move on to tokens.unlocks.app, we can see again, to be decided. Nothing can be confirmed at this point around that large amount of tokens. But then if we look at the available supply and the unlocked supply going into 2025, because I believe that this bull cycle could potentially top out around maybe Q2, Q3 of 2025. So if we use that as a rough guide, we can see that the current supply is at around 150 million tokens, as we know. By that point of the cycle, we could see around 300 million tokens in supply, so basically doubling, which will have a big impact on our price predictions shortly, with the possibility of 450 billion tokens roughly coming into supply based on them decisions made within the on-chain DAO. So that is something that we have to pay attention to continuously, but generally speaking, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be basing any decisions on the fact that we're going to see the circulating supply roughly double. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time looking at the recent price action and the chart, because the token hasn't been out very long and there isn't much data to work with. We're still looking at lower time frames and it doesn't really give a reflection of the bigger picture yet. However, one thing that I just want to make a point of is if we do look at the chart, we can see that the price immediately went into an uptrend after the launch. There was no doubt about that, which to be honest is quite rare, because we see a lot of airdrop tokens actually start off in a downtrend, start to bottom out, and eventually then pick up a bit of momentum after people have initially sold their airdrops, because they see that as free money, so they immediately sell. However, there was clearly a demand for Dymension on launch, and then obviously since topping out, price then started to slow down a little bit and form in this descending triangle. Now really the question at this point is going to be something like this. So if we just quickly do a bit of scribbling here, we can see that we've got support. If support is lost here, we're probably going to head lower. That would be my prediction, looking at this level at around, what will that be, around $6, $6.20, something like that. However, when it comes to breaking out of this into an uptrend, the play for me would be looking at this level. So we've got around 742. We can see here that price struggled to break through this on 2 occasions. But if we can break out of the triangle, breaking that trend line, but also with confluence, break through that horizontal level of resistance, I think that would be a huge play and potentially set us up to at least attack the highs, if not break them, and go into price discovery. So that's definitely how I'm seeing price action in the short term right now. This really doesn't have any impact on these longer term price predictions, but I just thought it'd be interesting for people potentially looking for better entries or upside confirmation. And lastly, before we take a look at those price predictions, we're going to look at the competition. Now, usually I would compare to players of the last cycle to look at the market cap that they reached and if we can surpass that and so on. But these are two very new sectors that we are looking at when it comes to those categories that we mentioned earlier. So we've got modular blockchains. If we take a look at that, Dymension is actually the second largest after Celestia. Now Celestia is at around a $3 billion market cap compared to Dymension's $1 billion, but just to keep that into consideration, that these two are likely going to be the big players in this area. And then if we go back and look at that other sector that we mentioned earlier again, the roll-ups as a service, we can see that Dymension actually is the biggest player at $1 billion, with AltLayer being the next closest at around $385 million market cap. So that's something to consider, because although we haven't really got that data to work with or to compare to, we've got potentially two huge new narratives of this cycle where we could see a lot of money flow into these, and more specifically, the blue chip players, which Dymension is definitely lining up to be. So now we move on to the price predictions, the bit that everybody looks forward to. Now there's a couple of things, as I just mentioned, to keep in mind here. We're currently looking at the circulating supply going to be double by the time we move into the middle of 2025. And this does have an impact on these price predictions because essentially in theory, you would now see the current market cap at around 2 billion rather than 1, with the price staying the same at $7. So this does have an impact on this decision. So as always, we will move into a pessimistic, a realistic, and an optimistic price target. First of all, looking at the pessimistic side, I do believe that current price could run 5x based on a $10 billion market cap. So this would leave price at roughly around the $35 mark. If we move to a realistic target, I think we can actually double that. I think that we can actually run to around the $20 billion market cap, leaving price at around $70 per DYM. However, if we want to be optimistic, if we want to look at the best case scenario, I mean, there's no ceiling to these things. You know, a lot of the time in crypto, we see that price can run far beyond people's expectations. But I think a sensible, optimistic price target would be doubling that again, running to around the $40 billion market cap, leaving price at around the $140 area. So of course that is a huge return from right now, looking at around a 20x, which for some people might not be too impressive based on the fact they're looking for the next 100x gem, but you have to consider that this thing is already at technically a $2 billion valuation, which is definitely not small. It's not a low cap gem as such. So that's kind of where my head is when it comes to giving these price predictions. So that is all for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments if you agree. Let me know how high you think DYM can realistically go. Also let me know in the comments which coins you would like me to take a look at next. I'm more than happy to listen to your feedback, listen to the community, and do this structure of video for different coins on your request. But in the meantime, please do like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. Do trade safe, invest safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.